Anytime now. There you are. All right. Welcome
Right.
to the 12 Cent Treehouse, where elderly, technically challenged men talk to you about making comic books, television, and movies.
Just
Um,
exactly who you want to listen to.
and Scott shows off his T-shirt. Show your T-shirt again, Scott.
Gotcha.
What is especially cool about that T-shirt, Scott Collins?
Is that it's mine and James Robinson's creator-owned project, our book.
So, and that book is available where and how?
Available at just about any comic book store you want to order it from, but it was published through Dark Horse Comics.
All right. So, welcome to the 12 Cent Treehouse, where I cannot speak, and we talk about working in comics, TV, and film. Today, we are going to talk about a page, how to lay a page out, why a page is laid out. I'm Sean McLaughlin. I'm a writer, producer. I worked in comics. I worked in television. I worked on things like Static Shock, Justice League, and a lot of Warner Brothers shows of guys beating the crap out of each other. And I've written screenplays, some of which were written for people who are not in jail at the moment. So, we've got that going on.
Yeah. It's a win.
Jeff, you want to give us your short bio and about anybody you know who is or isn't in jail?
I am Jeff Johnson. I've been drawing comics since the early 90s. They either had a cape or a skin tight outfit, I probably worked on it. Animation and comic books in some general design and illustration, but mostly comics. And so today I think we're going to talk about, we're going to take a page that Sean wrote, and Scott and I are going to challenge each other to lay it out the best and most interesting way. Take that, Scott.
Yay!
and Scott, your T-shirt is your creator-owned project. And what sort of things
Correct.
do you do on creator-owned projects?
I've done a variety of stuff. I've done science fiction, a little bit of kind of superheroic science fiction / fantasy, and then the latest was Patra, which was more horror fiction kind of thing. Having fun in the vein of the old slasher movies, Halloween and Friday the 13th and stuff like that, with some really cool texture and meaning and all sorts of neat stuff because of James Robinson, the writer.
Hey, Scott, didn't you pencil, ink, and color that?
I did, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's worth talking about, because who does that anymore?
Not many, although I think there's a fair amount of the younger generation that have popped in these days with their programs using the iPads and whatnot and the Procreates and everything, where they can do so much of it themselves these days. And some of them do, a lot of them probably don't yet, and they certainly don't when they're working for the majors, if it's Marvel, DC, that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's one of those tools that I've always respected in a lot of other creators. When I was reading comic books growing up, a lot of them were writers and artists, and I've written some stuff myself. This project with Patra turned out to be perfect for James and I. We have, by the way, a fourth member who's trying to join, who's having difficulty in sending messages to the group.
Oh, is Steve is he backstage? Not
Yes.
yet.
No, he's not backstage yet.
I don't see him yet.
If you want to text him a note saying maybe use an older email, that's what I did with my phone, which wound up working. The link in one of those older emails was different, used a phone, but whatever.
Yeah, you might have to send him a link
get a hold of
again.
him. Yeah, you guys talk amongst yourselves.
All right, so Scott,
But back to this topic, both Jeff and I have wanted to do this very much into the writing aspect as well as the drawing aspect. Being of the generation, or maybe last of the generation, where we were brought in as artists that could have to work off full script or off of a loose plot, we were very much always involved, usually with the story process as it was going along. It was just not a matter of that the writer would just tell us page 1 had these many panels, panel 1 is New York scene, panel 2 is this, panel 3 is this, panel 4 is this, and that's it. A lot of it was left up to our interpretation of either what was going on or just full on catching to the story that's there and adding to the story that's there, going like, oh, but this would be great if we did this as well, or we do it from this angle because we know by page 10 this is going to really play off better, or something like that. So we've always been involved with story and making sure that that visual side at least is as best as it could be. And we both worked on writing projects as well.
I do think that when you talk about storytelling, which is what I'm really excited that we're going to do this. It's going to be fun. There's Jonesy Kitty.
Oh, there he is.
Apparently, last week's link was the link to have.
It's the same link every week.
Actually, I looked at it,
Also-
Sean. It turns
also-
up differently when it's on our list.
Oh, really? So, all right.
Steve,
Yeah,
can you
I don't
put
know why.
headphones in? Your headphones in?
Yes, I can
Oh,
hear
okay.
you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Yes.
were getting
And
some echo there. Yeah, we
you
still
getting
are.
some echo from my earphones? Okay.
Yeah, let's see.
Do you want me to try?
Hold
Hello.
hold on a sec. Go ahead and just continue. Talk amongst yourselves.
Look, what is
Uh,
done cannot be now amended. Men shall deal unadvisedly at times, which after hours gives leisure to repent.
All right, let's
Fine.
skip ahead.
Oh,
Skip ahead a bit, brother.
Then
Let's
I
go
see
ahead
Queen
and
Mab hath been with you. She is the fairy's midwife who comes in shape no bigger than an agate stone on the forefinger of an alderman, drawn by a team
Wait.
of little atomies that thwarts men's noses as they lie asleep.
I can't.
I thought this was green eggs and ham. Where'd we go?
Oh my god.
You know I can
So,
do
Steve-
that, Scott. So careful.
I know you can.
He'll just don't get him started. He'll do the whole thing.
I know. Steve, introduce yourself. You're from New
Hi.
Zealand. What do we know you for, and why do we love
I'll
you?
be
That's
I'll
the
be
second
switching
one's
into
more of
this
an
T-shirt.
The second one's
Um,
more of an existential question, but I think you can answer it better than the rest of us.
My name is Stephen B. Jones. I am a comic book artist and animation professional and all-around swell guy. I've worked with Jeff Johnson on Wonder Man and with Sean McLaughlin on Aquaman, as well as Batman, the animated series, The New Adventures, Superman, the animated series, Batman Beyond, the animated series, Justice League Unlimited, the animated series. Jeff and I have also worked on a shit ton of cartoons together. Scooby-Doo and WrestleMania 2 is one that comes to mind,
That one was a fun one.
in addition to Batman Brave and the Bold and many others. God and I have shared an office together while he worked on such things as Freaks and
We
I
worked on
at-
some Marvel fanfare stuff together.
That's right, Over the Edge and whatnot. But I don't think we've ever. I mean, I guess well, when Scott says we've worked on some stuff together, what that means is that when I was in a horrible deadline crunch, Jeff and Scott came in and drew some pages for me. That's what that means.
Hey, but you also helped me at a deadline crunch. Remember when I did The Untold Legend of Captain Marvel?
I don't remember you ever having trouble on the deadline, Scott. But
I had like
I'm
these
gonna-
2 books that came in at the exact same time. So you helped me with some spaceships and stuff.
I mean, I'm really surprised I don't remember that. But my brain is starting to go.
All right. Well, let's.
It was a little while ago.
It was a long time
Yeah.
ago. Steve,
So
you ready
we're going to do a page.
We're gonna do a
Go on,
page.
Go on. Yeah,
that's-
Jeff. Sorry, I'm sorry,
that-
Jeff.
That's why I signed on late, because I got so enraptured into Sean's script, and then I started thumbnailing it, even though I said I don't have time to do this, but then I did. So
Well, there you go.
Yay!
So one of the things I think is really cool about
Oh, no.
laying stuff out is that
can't hear
no
Jeff.
matter- Can you hear me?
I
I
can hear him.
can.
I can't.
That's not my fault, Scott. There you go.
Oh God. Here we go.
And no matter how many different artists
I
you
don't
give
know
a
why I
script
can't
to,
hear him.
everyone's gonna look differently, do it differently.
Right. Everybody's got their own take on how to do a page. And what we talked about last week was that I tend to write what I think is visually and leave a lot of room for the artist to interpret, because otherwise, why don't I draw it myself, besides my complete and utter lack of talent?
Sure.
But I always get annoyed at movie scripts. I'm a script analyst. It's my day gig now. So I read between 5 and 12 scripts a week. And, you can't direct on the page. You just can't. Otherwise, the director is not going to pick it up. So I think with comic books, like, why do that for the artist as well. Why spell everything out for them? Then why work with an artist? Do it yourself. That's my
Yeah, and I
not
do
so
think that
humble
there's,
opinion.
you know, the what's we all have our strengths. You know, we all have the stuff that we like to draw and don't like to draw, um, and I think that it's that's one of the reasons that people like, either they'll buy our books or not buy our books. Is something about the way we see the story is something that they vibe with.
Yep. So we talked last week, and we talked a little bit during the week, and the idea was to do something that was public domain, which means that there's no copyright problems with it. Something we were all be interested in, and what might make a good story. So I think Jeff suggested Frankenstein, um, and when it comes to Frankenstein, I mean, I love the original novel, but I really like the Universal movies more than anything else. I like House of Frankenstein, Ghost of Frankenstein. To me, that's what the character is in the public's mind. So I did a page. I'm going to put it up now, and I can tell you why I did some of the things I did. The idea of this is that it would be sort of a Universal horror movie type thing, but this one takes place in Halifax, Nova Scotia in 1946 after the war. And the idea is that someone has shipped themselves the Frankenstein monster back from overseas to create havoc along the east coast of the United States and Canada. So I wanted sort of an atmospheric opening. It's kind of a cheat because if you're buying a comic book about Frankenstein, you know Frankenstein's going to show up at some point. So
Right.
the last panel isn't really a surprise, but you still have to build, I think, set the atmosphere and the tone of the place and the time. So that's what I was trying to accomplish here. You can see I use for this, I used a program called We Screenplay, which is a free online program which formats things correctly. If you're writing screenplays, for God's sakes, use something like that formats it correctly. Don't make up your own. But it also has this pretty good graphic novel format in it, which I
That's
think
great.
makes
That's
sense.
actually something that I might use, right, when you're writing stuff, because that's the problem. You're
Yeah.
always trying to so a quick note. There's the there's a whole idea of someone getting a screenplay and flipping through it and not reading it because they don't like the font.
It's true.
Yeah. so there are many hurdles to overcome, but having the proper formatting is a necessary step. It's an interesting thing, because even I'll look at something being like, if it's not if I can't read it, then I can't draw it.
Right. One of the things I like about this is that it does everything in this Courier 12 font, which is pretty much the standard font. I think Canadian and British use Arial, but Courier 12 point is the standard for the US, and this does that in comic book form. It tells you the page number at the top. It keeps track of that and the number of panels on the page, which while you're writing a screenplay, while you're writing a comic book script, you'd be shocked at how hard it is to keep track of what panel you're on.
Yeah.
You're writing, or what page.
That's a great, Sean. I might use this if I take a crack at writing more comic scripts, because I can't
You
tell
guys
you.
are putting me out of work. I only have one talent. You guys have multiple talents. Fuck you.
All right, we'll co-write it, you big baby. But but my name on top though. But on the last comic book project that I just did, I can't tell you how many times that my writer accidentally wrote panel 5, blah 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 blah, panel 5, blah 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 blah. And so what I thought at a first glance was a 6-panel page turned out to be a 9-panel page because of incorrect panel numbering. And then if your editors or assistant editors aren't checking that closely enough, then by the time it gets to you, you suddenly have a shit ton more panels on your page than any human being would like to have on their page, even Keith Giffen, rest his soul.
Yeah.
Right. And I, we grew up sort of like 6 and 9 panel grids. But I personally don't think that works. I like 5 panels on a page max. One of the things I like about what We Screenplay does is that it tells you how many panels there are right at the top of the page, which I think is great for laying the page out.
Agreed.
Totally.
Yeah.
Since you like 5-panel pages, I think it's really terrific that you made this an 8-panel page. But go on.
Well, I mean, this really should be, if we were doing the story, which is an interesting. I think we'll start with this. Like, it is 8 panels, and it's just a thing that we're doing for the show. But like, if we were actually doing this as a comic, I would probably cut it to the 7 panels, and then have that 8th one be the reveal, the flip page.
I came to the exact same conclusion. Like, that's my thumbnail is like, why on earth is Sean giving us this big fat juicy steak at the end, and we're just going to shove it into the corner of the bottom right hand? Like, we gotta give that its own whole splash page.
Because the next page would be a splash from behind the creature, seeing the guy who's going to take over the creature coming down into it. So it's a real nice dramatic. It's more of a reveal of the story with the splash than just a reveal of the creature.
You need a page turner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You turn the page and then you see the creature coming out of the box and the guy who sent him back coming down to try and control him.
You could also do it as it could also be facing splash pages where you've got him coming out and then you've got the thing that you're describing, since it'll be page 2 and page 3, or it could just be a 2-page, or it could be a 2-page, splash in that regard.
Yeah.
That kind of works together, those 2 elements. Because I definitely thought with the way you wrote and described it, I could definitely see, Scott, Bernie Wrightson, or Eduardo Riso doing it really well in my brain. But I definitely thought it's like, okay, well, if we've already set up this cool window that I'm imagining in the top of the warehouse that Sean described, where the moonlight's coming through, that as the creature is coming out of it, the window in the moonlight is shut. It's like it's shining against the top of the lid, so we're just seeing a almost mostly black silhouette coming out because all the light is behind him.
Right. I think so with a Frankenstein, we all have an idea of what the creature looks like, but we obviously can't use the Universal Monsters creature without winding up in court with Universal and the Karloff estate. So
it's for educational purposes only.
Can we use Abbott and Costello in any way?
Well, that was my first thought, actually, because Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein is one of my all-time favorite movies.
Classic.
I feel like it sums up your sense of humor in a lot of ways too, and I mean that as a compliment.
When I was writing page 8, all I could think of was Yick! But so in a comic book, to me, and you guys jump in, I think rhythm of the storytelling is really important in a comic, and I think the only way you get that really is through how many panels you put in a page and how the panels are presented.
Yeah.
So that was another reason I went with 8 panels on this, because it's a rhythm to get the story started, and a
lot of staccato notes. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
do you want to put the other cameras up so we can see the drawing going on? Jeff, is your drawing camera on? Are you on the?
My drawing camera is on.
Panel 1, page 1, panels 8. Panel 1, exterior shot of Halifax Harbor in 1945. A cargo ship is being unloaded. Caption: the war is over, and the spoils of war are making their way to the New World. Caption continued: Halifax, 1946.
That's not what I'm looking for.
That's not what I wanted
to
do.
Panel 2, a large box, maybe 10 feet long, 4 feet wide, and 4 feet deep, is being unloaded with a crane. Men stand on the ground guiding it. Caption: things are coming back. Guns, uniforms, souvenirs. Caption continued: monsters. Panel 3, the box, heavy enough that it needs several men, is loaded into a delivery truck. Caption: the world has discovered that the worst monsters can be human. Caption continued: but they were never the only monsters. Panel 4, The truck drives through Halifax. Caption. In 1917, a collision between two ships caused an explosion that killed 1,782 people and spread debris and was felt more than 200 kilometers away. I think there might be one more "and" in there than we need, but
Says you.
Panel 5. The box is carried into a warehouse.
He's not telling you his Stephen B. Jones, but he's not telling you his confirmation name is Dooley.
Oh, wow.
Ouch. Panel 5, the box is carried into a warehouse. Caption. That's nothing compared to what is about to start. Panel 6, the box rests in the dark. Maybe light from a window hitting it. I say yes. Panel 7, the top of the box, the long side, is starting to open from the inside. Panel 8, it's partially open and we can see the silhouette and burning eyes of Frankenstein's creature, but he's mostly obscured in shadow.
So I wanted to do a couple things. I looked up what was going on after the war, and Halifax was one of the big ports that were troops were coming back with. That was one of the major East Coast ports. I didn't want to do New York because it's been done. I thought about the South. But when I saw Halifax was one of the ports, I was in Halifax a couple of years ago, fell in love with it, would have been happy to move there. But it's also, a major metropolitan center that easily connects to the rest of the Eastern Seaboard. And there was that big explosion there. So it's a place that already has some disaster. So it's to have another disaster like this start there, not that long. It's like 30 years after the explosion. To me, it just seemed right. It just seemed like a place to start. And if we were going to do this as a series, he's going to wind up making his way down the East Coast.
And it sounds a bit British and everything. So to me, it already kind of fits in with sounding
right.
Mary Shelley-ish.
Right. It's also just a great looking city with lots of great set pieces. There's this huge
interesting. Okay,
colonial days up on a hill. Say what?
So Jeff saw that first panel as a long establishing shot for the exterior shot of Halifax Harbor. Scott, what did you do?
So again, going with the idea that it was these staccato notes, I thought, since we had 8 panels and the last 2 go to the reveal to then, especially then now I know the splash page for the next one. I did the 6 ones vertical like a George Perez kind of thing.
Nice.
Which would stack the artwork in the lower half usually of the panel, leaving the top half of the panel for the captions and stuff like that, depending on how you want to stagger them. And then you would have the 7th panel is the close-up of the fingers because it's starting to open. The fingers coming out of the box, and then the last one is the shadowy figure actually coming out of the box. And I'm setting it up right now like it's a coffin. So in the next panel I'm about to set up, I think I'm going to have them put it vertically up and see if that works.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like a huge box, like a coffin, but not a coffin. But
right.
The idea of a coffin, because he doesn't have to be in a coffin. He doesn't have to be in the not like Dracula, the dirt from the land of his birth. But how else would you transport the creature? I was by the way, I was thinking about you guys, and I did not put in packing peanuts in the notes.
I'm going to add those anyway.
Perfect.
They didn't have them. They used Excelsior then. So 8 panels, is that too much on a page, do you guys think, or does it work?
Yes.
What I was thinking of here.
I think it works fine for this experiment.
Well, look,
it depends.
I think.
Go ahead.
I think Jeff and Scott both were good boys, and even though Jeff said, I think we should make that 8th one a second one, they both pretended like this was a script that there was no wiggle room on, so they both made the best of doing it with 8. My brain was like, Sean just wrote this for this thing, so we could change it. So
sure.
I thumbnailed it that way. Here's why I think, if you possibly can, I feel like you should avoid it, is because, for one thing, you're writing your artist into a corner in terms of, because very often there might be additional beats that might complement or you might want to add. So say if you write a 5 or 6 panel page, A, that's actually just a really good amount of panels per page. B,
Yeah,
your artist might be
I
like,
agree with that.
because I found that sometimes on a script I worked on recently where when there was 8 or 9 panel pages, or if the panels had been misnumbered and so there's an 8 or 9 panel page, but sometimes there was really the necessity for an extra beat or two. And so then if you're going to give those extra beats, suddenly you're turning it into a 10 or 11 panel page.
Right.
And then, then you're dealing with lettering problems and I don't know.
Well, just where do you place the figures if you have to have some lettering? Once you get to 10 panels, the images are so small, there's not room for much of anything there. What do
Totally.
you,
And
Steve,
you can
talk about beats, because people watching might not know exactly what you mean by that, and I think it's a really good point.
Well, I think, I probably do this more, something that the Understanding Comics guy and Will Eisner talk about is sort of the magic of the gutters, right? Like that all kinds of interesting magical storytelling things can kind of happen in between the gutters. But I think, Jeff's got over 10 years of animation experience and I've got more. And so when you've gotten used to using the magic of animation, then sometimes there's a tendency to want to like add panels and beats just because like sometimes you're uncomfortable with all the heavy lifting that's happening in those gutters. If you've worked in animation, sometimes you're like, man, that's a lot of different shit that they said happened in between panel 3 and panel 4 here, let alone acting wise too, or something. It could be, say you've written a really great couple of word balloons for this character and he's supposedly saying it all in one panel, but there's really like 3 significant different acting beats, and then just one drawing is carrying all that weight for not just when he was sad, but when he shifted to then being happy and then making a joke, or something. But I ended up, what did I do? I saw that first panel as more of like a long, long horizontal one, and then
Vertical.
Thank you. And then horizontal for panel
You're
2.
gonna write, are you?
Yeah.
Well,
Oops.
I got a dictionary right here, or no, it's right over there, but it's someplace. But speaking of 3, 4, 5, 6, and then again, probably because I think still more like an animator than a comic book guy, like I ended up knowing I was going to give panel 8 its own splash page. I then kind of imagined 7 and 7A, because I sort of imagining like a static shot of it just sort of sitting there, the crate, and then the lid coming off, but
that's good. I actually had that and I cut it because it was getting to be too many panels.
Exactly. Well, then I made the editorial decision of turning this into a 23 page comic, but it's definitely something, as I've been reading more and more manga, it's definitely something that I love, which is that, and having just come off of, now I'm working on a long project that has a lot of, that'll be like probably one big graphic novel, but after having worked on a comic that was very strictly like 4 24-page issues, it's a pain, like it's a pain, like when you don't feel like you've got that breathing room, and it's really enjoyable. I don't know, just off the top of my head, there's this manga and anime called Dandadan. How do I spell this? Let me promote it properly. Not that it needs any promotion from me, but and these guys just do a terrific job of generally, like it's maybe 4 or 5 panels, sometimes it's 6, like they're just not overly, and then sometimes there'll be more, and they'll but I think there's something to when your comics are going to be printed a little bit smaller and when they're going to be printed in black and white, it prevents you from trying to jam too much on the page, you know?
Right.
Um,
Right. I just I think about what you talk about with what happens in the gutters, what happens between the panels, and I think it's a good idea to think about. A lot of people, I mean, I tend to think I think visually, but a lot of writers will have important events happen off stage or off screen, and there's no reason for that. You know, they want to, I read a script last week where they a major character and plot point was told in a monologue for a movie, which can be a creative choice, but why?
no,
The
right? Because
movie-
isn't the show don't tell is the preeminent rule,
Right.
right?
right.
I feel like in every place I've encountered storytelling, like whether that was the first week of my acting class in college, you know, or with writing or with drawing. I mean, I just had a thing where I was pitching this idea on this project I'm working on to my writer, and it was sort of like, hey, I think moving forward we should take this approach, you know. And I had to bite my tongue and go like, I'm not verbally pitching this to him. I'm going to do a couple pages the way that I see this working. And in my pitch to him, I'm going to show, I'm going to show proof, and, I'm going to show him, not tell him. I'm not going to say, this is why I think this would be a great idea. I'm going to have the proof be in the pudding. And so I think, in nearly every way, like I don't understand why you would want to have characters describe off screen something incredibly important that is very dramatic in a screenplay or in a comic, you know?
I mean, there can
Agreed.
be a reason for it. It can be you want to focus more on the now of the story, but to go into a long monologue on screen, for my money, rarely works. And in comics, it almost never works. You know, it's kind of like some of the writers from the 70s who will go nameless, who had to keep trying to prove that they could write and would put, 250 word captions on a panel, which, sort of undercuts the purpose of having a panel.
The
Well,
captions that when I was a kid, I would skip all the time.
You breeze over that. I found that if a monologue can be great, especially if it's got a lot of beats and emotional responses in it, you just have to break up every beat with a different expression or a different camera angle, or you have to frame it in such a way that it fits what's being said. And so if you just have a single face and you have a long caption, there's going to be a lot of range in that. I mean, there's no way that you're going to have more than one sentence that has the same emotional context. So I think it's important then to mix that up. And I think it can work that way. But a lot of times you see just, the easy way out, which is one face. And
because Jeff, didn't you have when you were working on Wonder Man the comic, now appearing on Disney Plus?
And it's great.
Like, didn't you have Wendy doing a Shakespearean monologue?
I did.
And you did exactly what we're talking about. You broke it up. I think he was doing To Be or Not to Be, and you didn't just have.
He was doing Sound and Fury.
Oh, okay. But there wasn't just a giant, there wasn't just a giant word balloon with all of the writing in it with just one sad image of Wendy. It was like you had him go through it beat by beat. Well, I
also had people watching him and having them react. So I cut to not only him saying stuff, but the balloon overlaid people responding. Like you could see their expressions as he was saying stuff.
I remember that. I think I posed for one of the expressions.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, Steve was one of the characters that I drew in that scene.
I think I did something to this effect. But
well, the thing is that monologues, soliloquies in Shakespeare, it's a completely different kind of storytelling than what we generally accept now. I mean, one of the reasons that stuff's in there is because they did so little on stage. They'd walk out and hear, put a tree on and go, now we're in the forest.
Exactly.
But then they described the forest beautifully because they had so little stagecraft that they could do. Even as they got more and more stuff, they still went with it. But that's an oral experience. It's hearing it, and it's a visual experience with someone performing it, which is a much different experience than a comic book page. To me, it's kind of like, yeah, go ahead, Jeff. I mean, Steve.
Well, I think you did a really nice job in your captions on this page. Well, look, and I mean, this is a good indication of like what an experienced writer Sean is, and that he's mostly been writing screenplays for decades. But he, when we all met him, he was writing comic book scripts. And something that I really love about just this page, except for maybe having one or two more panels than I would like, but is that
ow. yeah.
Is that
yours? That yours?
Didn't make it easy.
We're all friends here. I'm talking about
and
how
just so
great
you know, everybody out there,
pages.
This kind of debate that goes on between writers and artists goes on all the time.
Endlessly.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But so something that Sean did masterfully, in my opinion, is that there's really only one action happening per panel. Now, you can have more than one action happening in a panel, but then that starts getting into some other really important Will Eisner, and to some degree Scott McCloud stuff, which is that then it's like you got to have the thing that happens if you're in an English reading comic. You got to have the thing that the first action has to happen in the left side of the panel, and the second action has to happen in the right side of the panel, so that you're seeing them happen in progression within the same panel. So that's an example of you don't strictly have to have only one action per panel, but it really does frickin' help unless you really need to see some kind of cause and effect. And also there's a rhythm to this. There's this happens, this happens, this happens. Exactly. And you've done that beautifully too, in my opinion, because it's like it's not overwritten with your captions. Like each caption, is describing or counterpointing the action that you've put in there. So you're not, you're not, because Jeff just referenced this, right? Is it like, or this is a bigger point, and it's something I was just dealing with this past week when I was making this pitch, is that in a comic, right, like Scott's saying, like when he was a kid, he just skipped over captions. And the bigger a caption is, or the bigger a word balloon is that's filled with too many words, there's just a weird human tendency, child or not, to just go, like because it turns into its own graphic kind of visual noise in a way that it doesn't when you're reading a book, And so
it stops the page dead, in my opinion. It stops the reader dead, because you want the eye traveling through the page, and you put a big hunk of text in there, and all of a sudden the eye just stops. And to me, it kills the page.
Don't they say that when we read, we actually our eyes just kind of see the whole word and take it in? And so in a way that almost happens so that a sentence or two is the most you want, and one sentence is probably perfect because your eye almost just reads the whole sentence at once when it sees it in a caption or in a word balloon. Ostensibly your eye is traveling left to right over it, but in a way your eye is actually just taking it in and doing it all at once.
Yes.
And
I forget the number, but Ron Mars, I think, has even said that's like, you have 25 letters in a caption, depending upon the words, kind of a deal. And that's like the most, it's like a comfortable caption or a balloon to have. Anything over that or under that is, then it's a choice of whether it can be read or what it's going to do with it.
Scott, do you mean 25 words or 25 letters?
No, I mean letters. You don't want to put 25 words usually in a balloon. The 25 letters would be like 5 words or something like that, 5-7 words. He had a number, I forget what it was, but I was like, oh yeah, okay, sure.
Dang, I could see that.
So I talked about in my book that was banned in Texas prisons, How to Draw Fight Scenes Like a Pro. I talked
too much
about
shanking. There's too much shanking going on.
It's, I mean, that's I love that sentence because every bit of it's true. I got banned in a Texas prison. A high point.
I got banned in a Texas prison for a completely different reason.
Exactly.
But please go on.
So one of the things I talked about in the book, because I talk about pacing a lot in reference to fight scenes and stuff. So, and one of the ways you control how fast you experience the action is with visual density. So if there's more happening in the panel, and I use sound effects to illustrate the point. Like if there's pow, you read that, and that's just the one. That's all that's in that panel. You read that at that certain, like, how long that takes the mind to interpret. And then so there's a set amount of time that you experience when you read that. But if you have the next panel the same size of the panel, you have pow, boom, smash, pow, ouch, oof. You have all that stuff in it. That takes more time. There's more visual density. So the rhythm, so the speed that you take that information in slows way down. So I use sound effects because it's very much the same thing as reading dialogue. Like you will slow down, and when you're pacing a story, you want to control how fast someone is reading each panel, experiencing each panel. And
Right.
I use visual density and pattern to control that flow.
What do you think about Shaka Thum, Jeff?
Shaka Thum is one of my all-time favorite sound effects.
Same.
I mean, it's
I like Simonson's Crack-a-Doom.
Crack-a-Doom. Yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah.
Doom.
Yeah.
Doom.
So what's a thing you don't want to see on a page like this? What kind of thing besides 8 panels? We get it, Steve. We get it. 8 panels is too much. We get it.
I think going back to what Steve was saying about one thing happening in the panel at a time. So if you're trying, like each panel has its own mission, right? So if you split that focus in a panel, like I hate it when someone is like, when they ask like character nods, you're like, what?
Yeah.
Or he climbs in and drives away to the car. You're like, that's too many things.
Is he climbing in or is he driving away, Clarence? Yeah.
Yep. I used to do that a lot. So I'm
I think it's
perfect, but
I think it's something you have to. It's a totally normal thing to do, because like if you're imagining it in your mind's eye, it's kind of like you're watching. I imagine you might. It's like you might be watching it. You're seeing it as a comic, but part of your brain seeing it as a movie in a way too, or something. And so you're like, well, I'm on this shot, so he gets in and then he starts up the car and then he drives away. It's like, okay, but that's hard to do in one shot, in a comic. Obviously it's easy to do in a movie.
Yeah, but with comics, part of it is deciding. For me, it's what is that moment? It's like, is it he's climbing in the car or he's driving away? What is that moment? And we're all, the guy who founded Improv Olympic said, we've all grown up with movies, TV, and radio for decades now. We all know what a story structure is in our head, but the point is we have to make choices. And I'll tell you, the person who I thought was the best at it, or was really tremendous at it, was Bill Morrison in the early Simpsons comics. That was a guy who nailed cinematic storytelling in a comic, but it was clearly not storyboards. It was clearly comics, but every single panel was the right choice. Roy Crane too, and Buzz Sawyer, just like everything is the right choice for that action. It's pretty astonishing.
Well, I mean, when you're dealing with storyboards, and Jones and I, like, it's what you show is important, right? Like how you move people and what shots you pick can lead to jump cuts, which could be upsetting. But like you can make a shot as quick as you want. Insets, you can show all the information. You can give all the various beats, and then you can make them just a few frames if you want. But like for comics, you have to skip a ton of shit, right? Like,
right.
if the guy's getting in the car, like if he's standing near the car, you can show him just driving down the road to the next panel. You don't have to show him starting the car, doing any of that stuff. You can just assume that those panels are red in the gutter. That's the beauty of the gutter.
Yep. And if you look at old movies, if you look at movies from especially the early sound era, they would show someone getting up in their office, walking out of their office, walking down the hall, getting in an elevator, getting out of an elevator, walking out of the building, getting into their car, driving, parking in front of someplace else, walking inside, because they were afraid the audience would think the person had magically transported someplace. So someone just walked out of one office and walked into another. And we've all been trained to understand that stuff now.
Yeah, the viewer is so much more sophisticated now.
Totally, especially with editing. I was just thinking about Steven Soderbergh kind of maybe popularized a lot of stuff that he was getting from John Borman and other directors that were more experimental. But I think a lot about some shots in some of Soderbergh's movies in the late 90s and early 2000s, where he's like deliberately doing jump cuts in the same shot to skip exactly what you're talking about. And I was thinking about, and there was a time. And even like in the 80s, you couldn't have done those shots in a mainstream film. People would have just thought like, you cannot do this. And the only way around like doing that kind of stuff would have been to do a series of different shots from different angles. So if you're cutting out a lot of boring stuff in between, there's at least the cut is serving as like the gutter in a comic, as it were, But now, now people watching film and TV are so much more sophisticated. You can literally just have jump cuts to skip boring things, and people will just be like, got it, we totally get it.
Now that's changing though, because Matt Damon was on an interview the other day talking about how executives are saying people are on the phone all the time, so you have you have to clear the plot up 5 different times in the first hour.
Right.
Second screen, yeah. Seeing Matt and Ben come out and promote that new Netflix movie that they just did, and they're sort of their first taste of getting Netflix notes, where it's like, okay, could we have an action sequence in the first 5 minutes as well, not just Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, because we need people to immediately tune in. And right to your point of right now, they're saying like, look, if someone's watching this, they are most likely also on their phone, so. And
I got to tell you, I've got tons of family members. They drive me nuts. They're doing it all the time. They have their laptops on while they're watching TV, or they're on their phones or this stuff. I'm like, wait a minute. We turned on this movie. I want to enjoy this movie. What are you doing over there? I really don't get it. But I think it's because we're immersed so much in the hows and wheres and what's and who's doing it and all that kind of stuff.
I don't either. I think it's disrespect to the people who made it. Even if it's shit, I want to give it a chance.
Well, also, if you're not going to watch it, why watch it?
Yeah, I don't understand that. I don't understand that. And I don't understand everybody wanting to do MST3K in their own home. And,
well, I think talk their way through we're all addicted to these phones now. That's what I mean. It's literally like people have lost the ability. I mean, before these phones 15-ish years ago at the level that they're at, we used to just scold how the fact that everyone was just a bunch of zombies watching TV and movies too much, just watching one thing. And now, right now, people can't even sit still practically for a movie or a half-hour TV show or whatever, and only watch it and nothing else,
And so much of it is built to be like stealing our time, like we know of like getting the right clicks or whatever, or the games that half my kids have played or whatever in the past or whatnot, where it's like, well, you got to check in on this game every like 3 hours or so, and you got to make sure you got to build up this farm equipment, and then you got to go over there. And, oh, you left the game alone for 2 hours. You fell down the hill. You're back, 100 points versus all the other players and what they're doing. Like, holy God, this game is a job.
Yeah, it's because it's all just about engagement, right? Like, oh, all right. Let's.
So we're coming up. Go ahead. I was going to say we're coming up in the last.
Well,
go ahead. Go finish up, Jeff.
Engagement, like you're trying to fight that kind of engagement with the comic. So like, you have to be succinct, right? You have to be tight. Oh, Scott, you finished? You son of a bitch.
Can we make Scott's the biggest, please?
Oh my God, bastard.
Mr.
I'm hoping
Fancy.
we can.
Maybe I'll just. Oh, there's Sean's
so
beautiful
press shift
face.
one. That's not
Sean's the
me.
biggest.
No, I don't want
When
to do
Captain
that. I don't wanna do
America
that.
throws his mighty shield. Oh, well, you made it go away. All those who chose to oppose his shield must yield. Wait, I just realized, are we going to get in trouble if we
don't
sing
know how
that?
to make it the biggest. I don't know, maybe.
I
Okay, here
think
we
if you
go.
just do this.
Hello, world, watch us learn. There we go.
Yeah.
Well
I
done.
wish it would focus better.
Panel 1, Scott's got a pretty
Scott, walk
far
him through it
away
while I finish
shot.
mine and catch up.
So yeah, it's not completely clear just as a rough like this because I don't try and do all the details when I'm doing the rough, but
Sure.
the ship is back here.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. And I like
And
the,
this is-
so I like the coffin idea of the top panels.
So then, yeah, instead of showing the whole crane, showing just mostly that box being lowered, and those are people down below that will be receiving the box. I split the captions because I like this one that said, I think monster. What does it say? Yeah, monsters. It says things are coming back: guns, uniforms, souvenirs, and monsters. And I thought that deserved a nice little space on its own. Plus, when you bounce them around, it makes people read the whole artwork instead of reading the art or reading the words and reading the artwork separate. Third one is, what do we got? The world discovered the worst monsters can be human. And they're being loaded. This one's now being loaded into a truck. It's not a great angle on the truck, but again, when it's all finished, I could sell the real actual angle of the truck. Then this is the one where it's driving around out of town. I actually have it coming to the gates of the warehouse just to help with
Cool.
the storytelling, knowing it's at another destination. I played with the outside of a warehouse first, but then decided the inside Indiana Jones kind of a warehouse shot would be much more fun. Could get a lot more 3D with this in the final versus just the idea. But it's the guy pushing the box. Then the box is there with the window up on top, but it's tilted, laying there with some cast shadows on it. Then we've got the hand that's creeping it open, and then boom. And actually, I played with this one a bunch. I don't know if you saw it while I was working on it or not, but originally I had the box up this tall, and I shrunk it down because I couldn't get Frankie's head up here, and I wanted it down here, but I wanted Frankie crammed in the box. The box is too small for Frankenstein. Frankenstein's too big.
Oh, that's cool. That's a cool
Well, that's a
idea.
great idea.
But that's where we are. And that's what I kind of do with a lot of my pages and how I do them. I'll lay out the boxes. Oh, that's the other thing I should show you is the one thing Sean didn't do on the script is in the captions to number them. And I remember noticing that from my editors that were the more competent ones that I came to. They would number them by the time the script got to me. The editors would make sure that they were numbered. So then when I was doing my pages, I could be putting caption 1's here, caption 2 is there, balloon 3, balloon 4, whatever they are, as they go all the way down. So I number them all. So then when I put them on here, I can write 1 and 3 and 5 and wherever they're going to do. In fact, I didn't notice this. This caption number 8 says, that's nothing compared to what is about to start. And I thought, because we're going to be all of a sudden doing something hyper realistic or beyond realistic, that I was going to suggest for that caption to be broken over those two panels. So it would be breaking what's already going on with the staccato moments, going like, oh, something weird's going to be happening.
I mean, that's
Very cool.
A, that's great, Scott. B, I mean, Sean is used to this from animation too, where you number all the dialogue and it's crucial, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I had people do that for me. Seriously, I did.
Yeah. They're called minions, and yeah.
You had those little yellow guys?
Yeah, they're the best.
Banana.
They get a lot of work done.
Perfect.
All right. Here's Jeff. You want to talk about yours?
All right. Yeah. Okay. So let me see. There is the top panel. I decided to do a long establishing shot, like a moody. There's the ship, and I'm going to put Halifax in the back there in silhouette. And then I cut to the box being dropped on a crane. Like when I was doing stuff at CrossGen, I had a great meeting with Bart Sears, and he basically told me that I was working too hard. Hang on, just 1 second. Thing's about to die. Okay. He went over my first issue that I did at CrossGen, which was a ruse issue, and he went through all the panels and let me know how much extra work I was doing that wasn't necessary and slowed the plot down. So I try to keep that in mind, like what is the most important thing in the panel, and this is the crate coming in, being dropped down. And so we can see the cranes up here. We see it loaded down here. We don't need to see the cranes, even though they're fun to draw. And there's dudes putting it on the truck. And then I cut to a close-up of the crate in panel number 3. And that is the Frankenstein of Family Crest.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's not what you asked for the thing, but I thought it would look cool.
And you're right.
And then the little delivery truck going through the city, and it's all silhouetted, and in the background we can see the docks and the moon. And then in this panel here, it's the little truck coming into the warehouse. And in this panel, it is the guy getting ready to, he's leaving the truck behind, and he's lighting up a cigarette. And there's the truck.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the same idea about the Indiana Jones crates and stuff in the warehouse. I thought that would look really super cool. And in this panel, it's just the crate opening up. So it's the same shot as this, is panel 3, but the crate is opening up. And it's all shadowy cool inside. And then we cut to this big panel at the bottom here where Frankenstein, I actually was going to show him a lot more and put him in shadow, but have him have a cool pose where he's kind of pushing off the lid.
Very cool.
Yeah. Because I wanted to draw Frankenstein.
And you succeeded.
Yeah, there you go. But so all these little beats, I think, are, they're pretty much the same panel size, and they lead to this big moment where he's revealed.
I liked Scott's sort of like coffin shaped panels taking up a lot of the storytelling at the beginning, but I also like this long panel on top, long panel on bottom, because it seems like it's focusing on those seemed like it's focusing on the moment, and Scott's really nailing the timing of it, but this seems like you're focused more on character stuff. Is that right or wrong, or am I insulting Scott by saying that?
No, not at all.
Yeah, and I have to say that I like to compose the page. And I'm a bit OCD, so I actually kind of like to have the page be balanced and like almost symmetrical.
That's really cool. Those are both really cool.
Well, Steve, how are you?
Give me two. You guys chit chat for 2 more seconds, and then I can I think I can do something presentable.
Cool.
So nobody's asked me what happens in the story after this. Is that of any interest when you're starting off like that, or?
We already wrote it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I didn't want to. I wanted to. Yeah.
I wasn't sure how far you would have gone ahead with it, Sean. I wasn't sure if like you had developed actual like a full length kind of plot, or whether you were just taking this thing like we're only doing this one page. Doing this one page by itself is fine, but in real, if there was a full script, obviously I'd read the whole full script first before I'd even lay out page 1.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but
I think the guy who brought him over is a Nazi who snuck into Canada, and he's going to try and use the creature to create a guerrilla war to get some revenge.
Oh, very cool.
Excellent.
At least he's not a Chicago Nazi. Illinois Nazis are the worst.
They are the worst.
They sure are.
Nazis.
So one of
I
the
hate
things,
these
Scott,
guys.
that I like about your layout is that all the shapes in lead to the next panel.
Yep. All right, is that something you do consciously or subconsciously, Scott?
I didn't hear his question. I still haven't been able to hear Jeff. For some reason, his mic is muted to me. What was his question?
Oh, yeah.
No,
you
don't say it
said
again, Jeff.
All the panels,
What was that?
Jeff, you were saying like all panels lead clearly one to the other with a clear storytelling, right?
Yes.
Yes, there was supposed to be always that kind of left to right mentality of going with them or directing them to the next thing. If not directing to the next visual, directing to the next caption, that kind of stuff. But I would have been fighting myself because there was a piece of me that very much wanted to do the top panel in the way that Jeff had done it. Just to really get that broad scope of the ship coming into port, that kind of thing, and the whole kind of majesty or whatever of or the awesomeness of a large ship coming into port, which mine doesn't have. Mine's literally just a port scene with all the action going on.
All right, here we go.
And by the way, I'm a good writer, so I did pull scrap reference for these guys. They didn't ask for it though.
Excellent.
That's above and beyond good. All right, here we go. Give me 2 seconds. Look at
those lovely trees back there.
They're really cool, aren't they?
Beautiful.
They are. Okay.
All right.
So panel 1, we got that. I imagine it was kind of like there's the ship, there's the city, there's a crane. So it's almost like the ship's right there. It's like it's a big shot, but we're like not really getting a good view of everything. We can clearly see, but we're not getting the majesty or whatever because it's a vertical shot. Panel 2, it's like an upshot from around all the guys that are like steering the thing in. So we're like looking up at an extreme angle as the crate comes in.
Uh-huh.
Panel 3 is a little bit more of a top down as the line and the crate comes in to be settling down by a bunch of guys putting into the back of the truck. Then panel 4 is like low angle shot from the back of the truck as it speeds away from us and we see it kind of going into the city. We just see the crate in the back of the truck because it's more about the crate than who's driving it.
Yeah.
Then panel 5 is kind of a wide shot as we see the truck driving into like a really big, I'm imagining it like as a giant warehouse with a ton of scale, and it's really dark as they drive in there. You see a little smoke behind the truck.
Mm-hmm.
Then panel 6, I mean, this is one where part of my brain has, like doesn't want there to be work in the gutter. Like the animation brain wants to show more shit, but it's like, so then we've just got, like the truck is driving away in the background with a little bit of smoke as the coffin now sits there and it's really dark. And then the moon, the moonlight in the rooftop window is shining light on it. And then it just sits there, not moving for that, the panel that I added. And then, creak, it starts to open. And then that's like my super rough version, but it's like, so it's almost all silhouette. We maybe are just seeing his hand and his leg and the dark, red eyes that Sean describes, but we really can't get any details of him in that shot except his silhouette, and then the back of the lid, whatchamacallit, and the light and everything behind him. That's my 15-minute version.
Cool.
That splash panel is very Tothy.
For sure.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, of course, yes, I would always be aspiring to Toth.
He was a master of controlling the pacing with shape and
except for maybe the smoke and the cigarettes part.
Oh.
Yeah, that was where I was going to go. We used to get those. Were you, Steve, Jeff? Were you over there at the studio when Bruce got a postcard from Toth?
No. Was it awesome?
You could smell it.
Oh.
Ronaldo would put it in the inbox, and everybody knew that Toth had written in.
Yeah.
We're actually overtime, guys.
All right.
That was
Oh my God.
cool.
Well, that was fun.
there's been some talk amongst us about changing the name of the show to Yakety Schmackety, but I think we're sticking with the 12-cent Treehouse for now.
Yakety schmackety, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
All right.
That's cool.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for whoever watched. I hope you learned something. I did. And we'll be
Coming
back
to you
next
from
week.
three different time zones.
Woo!
Two continents.
Around the world.
As we figure some of this stuff out, and we're already getting better. It's a process, obviously, but I think it'll be fun to when we get the website up and we get the channel locked in, and Scott, nice with the Patra. I think we should put up this page and let people try their own layouts.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
Yeah. See how you like it.
I need to work on the website. That's my one of my many failings. So,
No, we'll one bite at a time. That's
Sean,
how we're gonna eat this
Sean,
elephant.
that's true. And Sean, leave that to us. We can discuss your failings. You don't need to get in there and do that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve. All right. Bye, everybody.
All right.
Good
Take it easy,
night.
guys.